Hi guys, and welcome to another video or speaker comparison rather. And today I have brought two JBL Charge 5s and two Anchors to the battle. And I will start off with the indoor comparison, then I'll do an outdoor comparison, and then I'll do a summary at the end with a lot of different stuff. I'll begin the indoor comparison will only be have a volume of around 30% on both speakers, a little bit above 30%, maybe even 40%, but around that area, and it's the same volume for both of them, if I don't remember correctly. And yeah, of course, both will be playing in their respective stereo modes. So yes, stereo modes, and I will be switching between them in the indoor comparison. In the outdoor comparison, I'll start off with 50% volume at a little bit of closer range, and then I'll step back a little, or put the speakers a little bit further back and do a 100% volume comparison. And I'm gonna be, in total, I believe I'm gonna play 4 songs. 2 indoors, 2 outdoors, one at 50% volume, one at 100% volume. Yeah, and then a comparison at the end. And yeah, let's begin with the indoor comparison.
But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees, waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in the Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah. The birds have just begun. We will always take a stand for the people, for the land. Let's go back to when we were young. For the animals we stand. Let's go back to when trees were swung. Kids across the Savannah,
Okay, and that was it for the 50%, a little bit above 50% volume comparison, and now I'm a little bit further back, let's say around 4 meters, and I will start playing with the anchors, and they're about a meter separated between each other. And yeah, let's do this, and I will be playing Humanity, my favorite maximum volume comparison song. So let's begin. Yeah, and that was it for the audio comparison, and now I'll do my summary. Okay, indoors it was pretty not one-sided, but it was pretty equivalent to have a 1v1 comparison when it comes to the conclusion. Of course, you get a way wider soundstage, but still the wider soundstage is still the anchor's main domain, you could say. You have a really pretty detailed sound overall on the anchors, and especially with my customizable EQ, it is even better. And my customizable EQ right now on the anchors is leaning a little bit towards outdoor setting, which means I've boosted the highs a little bit more to make it pop more outdoors. So maybe not perfect for indoors, but for outdoors I think it's performing quite well. The Charge 5s, they lack from the just a single Charge 5, they lack pretty much a lot of a wider soundstage. But now that there are two of them, they perform better, but they're still not as wide of a soundstage. They still seem pretty narrow, the sound in general, and you can't appreciate that. Maybe the electronic genres are favoring the Charges a little bit, because they just need that beautiful deep bass that they got to make the sound appreciable, but when it comes to other types of songs and when you hear more vocals and whatnot, you can really hear that the anchors are popping off better when it comes to that. But the JBLs, as I pointed out, indoors especially, they have this nice deeper bass, very rumbly bass that the anchors are, they lack that quite a bit, and they only have a more upper bass, boomy bass tuning, you could say. The anchors also lack the highs that the Charges have. But because of the great sound from the anchors in general, with pretty great mids and whatnot, they still sound better in my opinion than the Charges, but not always. Especially with new genres, with deep bass and whatnot, and if you tend to lean towards the deeper bass, you will love the Charge 5, and you will not necessarily hate, but you will prefer the Charge over the anchor. And sometimes I actually do the same. I prefer the anchors, the Charges over the anchors. When it comes to the outdoor test, I think at 50% volume, the Charges were performing slightly better than the anchors, especially when it comes to the bass. I think it's mainly because of the bass. When it comes to like sound dispersion and soundstage, I will take the anchors. Their angling of the tweeters, as you can see here, they have them pointed outwards. It's really great for hearing them when you're stepping in not entirely directly in front of the speaker, and it really helps it out quite a bit, because whenever I stand next to the Charge and not in front of it directly, it loses out quite quickly and the sound disappears. Whilst of course it loses as well the anchor, but not as heavily as the Charge. But still I would favor the Charge 5 on the 50% volume test, and even on the particular genres indoors. When it comes to 100% volume test, I think I would go with the anchors. They're greater dispersion, and they have more bass in general. They still lack the deep bass, but it just sounds better because it's louder. A little bit of distortion, but you can tune that with the equalizer. But yeah, in general, I think it just performs better and at 100% volume, because of the highs are starting. They don't have necessarily the best of highs anchors, but I think that's a point I can kind of look away from and not judge so harshly. Whilst the charges, they just sound narrow, they don't sound as open, even though they got the highs and they got the mids and they got the bass. They don't. It's just a form factor with the one tweeter, one woofer design that suffers quite a bit. I think that is the case why they are that narrow sounding speaker and not that good dispersion and a wide soundstage. I think that is the case, but maybe it isn't. And if it isn't the case, leave a comment down below explaining what the charge is suffering from, because yeah, I don't have a better way of describing it. But at 100% volume, the anchors go louder, not much louder, but they are noticeably louder than the charges, and a little bit more bass, but as I said, lack the deep bass. Other than that, I think, other than the sound, you could discuss the pricing. Charges are about 1.5 times more expensive than Anchor right now. They have gone down in price. Before they were twice as pricey, but now it's around 150, 160. It depends. And I found them for even cheaper. I found that the charge for about the same price as the Anchor. And in that case, I would go with the charge if they are the same price. They got newer Bluetooth 5.1 instead of 5.0. Nothing wrong with 5.0, but 5.1 newer, better, I guess. And it's a more premium feeling speaker, you could say. It isn't bad, the Anchor. It isn't bad at all, but you can really see like it gets scratched up quite quickly. And it gets like a fingerprint magnet. Whilst the Charge 5 looks clean, or even if the logo can get scratched up and the passive radiators, it still looks great. It got a USB-C and a USB-A out, so you can charge devices with the Charge 5, which you can't with the Anchor. But the Anchor does have an aux jack, but also USB-C. The Charge 5 can also be paired up to other party boost enabled speakers. So, for example, you can pair up, other than this speaker, of course, but you could pair up it to like a Extreme 3, for example. So you can have up to 100, whilst the Anchor can only have 2. Which means I think the Charge is starting to pull away a little bit with the features, even though aux jacks are, they're so great. Higher definition, you can really hear it when you're using it, and lower latency and whatnot. So that's something I really enjoy. I think both floats, but I think the Charge floats better than the Anchor. But they both float, so I guess that's the main point. But if you have these for similar price points, I guess the Charge 5 would be better. In some scenarios, the Anchor Soundcore Motion Plus might be better in the same price point, like if you want a wider soundstage and whatnot. But for me, that deep bass is still, yeah, I think it's gonna hit. It's gonna be great, and a lot of people will appreciate that more than the wider soundstage from the Anchor. Form factor wise, this is a little bit heavier than it's about 1050 grams, and this is 960, so a little bit heavier, but I like the form factor more from the Anchor. It's slimmer, a little bit longer design than the Charge, but it's really good when, like, if you have a backpack or traveling. I enjoy that, but it got the fabric mesh, so it isn't bad at all. Yeah, yeah, this got an equalizer. This has a really bad equalizer, but it has an equalizer to JBL. And yeah, that's basically it. If you have any more thoughts, maybe the conclusion was a little bit muddy, wasn't that clear of what speaker you should go for, please leave a comment down below and I'll answer it as soon as I can. And other than that, thank you for watching and see you in the next one.